Bethany Warren here. Welcome to our Millwall fan show with some new voices, but the same focus. Just everything Millwall. Enjoy! Welcome to the 2023-24 series of Millwall No One Likes Us Talkins, our Millwall fan show. I'm your host Bethany Warren, and with me I have the No One Likes Us Talking team of Jeff Burnige, Patricia Maslin and Myles Thornton himself.
Not everybody likes them, but they don't care.
Jeff, Pat and Myles, are we all good to go?
Yeah, good evening. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. So let's get straight into the action then. It was a 1-0 loss at Hull on Saturday, and apparently a doubtful one, according to that famous ex-referee Dermot Gallagher. Myles, if you were reporting for Maritime, as you usually do, how would you present your thoughts on Saturday's game?
Yeah, I'd say probably disappointing, to be honest, considering it was only 1-0. I didn't watch the game, but I've seen the goal, and it was definitely an avoidable one. Wes Harding, I don't know what he was doing. You can't in that area. You can't just head the ball down. Just get rid of it. Just get rid of it. Yeah, I know if they're just trying to play out the back, but in that situation, they've got, I think there's about 2 players around them from Hull. Just get rid of the ball, because what happens is they're going to find the likes of Jaden Philogene or someone else, and they'll score, and they did. But there was a slight handball there. But obviously we ain't got VAR, so.
If only, huh?
Yeah.
So how about you, Jeff? Fleming went close landing on his effort on the roof of the net, but not one shot on target from Millwall.
I'd like to slightly make a more definite point than Myles just made. I've seen the goal back. It was on that Monday morning that Sky have a ref watch where they have Dermot Gallagher come in. They don't very often do a championship game. It's usually the Premiership games. But he went out of his way to show you the Hull versus Millwall goal. And yeah, I wouldn't say it was a slight handball. It's a blatant handball. It was so blatant that the officials should have seen it without the help of VAR. Having said that, we didn't have a shot on target. It was a poor header down. So there you are. You get what you deserve sometimes.
Absolutely. And Pat, the calls for Edwards to go are growing. Fans saying that the club has picked the wrong guy and too many of the players are unable to play his style of football. What's your take on that?
Well, you have to agree that Joe Edwards' record so far this season is a bit horrendous. I mean, apart from that Christmas 3 games, I mean, we've not been winning anything, have we? However, we wanted new football and we got it. We wanted attacking football and we got it. Let's not be hypocrites. We've got to give the guy a chance. And I think he needs at least a season to correct the mess he's inherited, because he has inherited a mess there. We put up with Rowett's boredom for nearly 5 seasons. Shocking home record he had. 3 wins out the last 24 home games. Joe's had 1 transfer window, 2 loanees and 1 buy with young Mayer. I mean, it's not a bad start. I mean, it's not going to set anything alight. Surely we can give Edwards a season to prove himself. I just hope we don't get on his back and under the pressure, being so young, he pulls out. It's his first job. We know he's got experience, but not as a manager, as a head coach as he is with us. We need to move forward together, and the only way we can do that is to get 100% behind him. He needs backing from us, and with that backing, I'm convinced we're on the verge of something very special. And can I just add to that, apart from the Edwards thing, taking nothing away from James Berylson, he's been an absolute star, but I still think we're feeling the effects of JB's passing, maybe not financially, but as a club, emotionally, on the field, the whole club, the supporters. I think all that instability and unknown what was in our heads for weeks and months, I think we're still feeling the effects of that. And I don't think that'll pass till the end of the season. I'm the cynical one. I didn't think it would affect us the way it did, and I certainly underestimated it. But yeah, we must give Edwards a season at least.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. You know, he's come in, as a young manager, and it's not his team. Like you say, he's had 1 transfer window, and we don't have unlimited funds. We can't go out there and buy the likes of Erling Haaland or something. So, he's doing what he can. And what I'm quite enjoying about Edwards is he's not afraid to change things up. Whereas I was always a big fan of Gary Rowett, but I always found that if something wasn't working, he wouldn't really change it unless it was the absolute last minute. Whereas Edwards will go, okay, well, let's try it this way and let's try this now.
Yeah, it's a gamble.
So,
the club took a gamble.
Absolutely.
I mean, all we can do is stand beside them.
Absolutely.
You said it then, Pat, that the club took a gamble. It was a brave decision by James Barrelson to appoint Joe, the least experienced of the final few candidates it came down to. And I'm 100% behind him. I agree with everything that people are saying. However, he's never come close to having to fight a relegation battle. And that does slightly worry me, because you can't just play the way you love to play if you're in a relegation scrap. And we're not far off being in one.
Yeah. Okay, we will take a break there and hear from our sponsors at G&M Motors.
Hi, this is Jess Tuffield from G&M Motors. Operating from a modern and purpose-built facility in Milton Road, Gravesend, G&M Motors offers a complete range of new Honda cars and services. As well as new Hondas, we have an extensive range of used cars, including ex-Motability cars from a variety of manufacturers. Specialising in new Honda cars, G&M Motors has been retailing quality new and used vehicles to the people of Kent and South East London for over 4 decades. We have been a Honda dealership since 1972 and are the country's longest serving supplier of this renowned marque. Conveniently sited just 2 miles from the A2, 10 miles from the M25 and Dartford Crossing, visitors to our showroom are assured a warm welcome from our experienced and friendly staff. Our facilities include an on-site workshop capable of providing full vehicle servicing and repairs, as well as an extensive parts department offering genuine Honda parts and accessories. The expertise of our skilled mechanics is not limited to just Hondas, but extends to most makes and models of motor vehicles. Whatever your motoring needs, visit us at G&M Motors today. The newly extended hours of our G&M headquarters means that you can contact us from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. on weekdays and 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. on Saturdays. To contact us, call us today on 01474 365 026.
Thank you, Jess. Debbie Julian's here. Don't forget to call Jess on 01474 365 026. G&M Motors have been dear friends of the Julians family for over 4 decades now. From my dad Lenny to me, Debbie, Lions together.
I'm your host, Bethany Manktelo, and with me I have the No One Likes Us Talking team members of Jeff Burnige, Patricia Maslin and Myles Thornton. Many thanks to our sponsor G&M Motors. Why not go along and see what they have on site? Our first guest on the show is very familiar to the fan base, despite him residing some distance and sea away from England. When in London, he regularly attends the Den and occasionally Coventry City. He made 339 appearances for us over an 8-season period. He never scored a goal, and right behind him is David Ford, who played 1 full game less, but did come on as a sub in 1 game. He joined us from Chelmsford for a meagre sum and left us for almost 30 times what we paid him. Well known for his humour, but also for his compassion. We are delighted to welcome back a Millwall man who gained an England cap. Hello, Bryan King.
Good evening.
Evening, Brian. Jeff, it's Jeff here.
Good evening, Brian.
Oh, good evening. Cool, so many good evenings. They're wonderful.
So, Brian, before I pass you over to the team, I've heard my dad talk of you with great admiration, but he was saddened when your career was abruptly ended through injury. Can you share with us what happened and how did you cope with the traumatic experience?
Well, I must admit, you never ever think you're going to have to retire. And I just made it to the First Division, literally. It was the second season, and we were playing a pre-season friendly at Wolverhampton. And a ball got played down the left-hand side and crossed into the box. I dived out. I collided with 2 of the biggest lumps in football, I should think, Larry Lloyd and Steve Kindon. And the next thing I knew, Jack Taylor was telling me to remain on the pitch, don't try and get up, as my knee had a complete rotation and my laces were facing up in the air instead of on the grass as they should have done. So they finally got me off the pitch, and my rehabilitation started from then, really. And it was a year of hard work and desperation. And funnily enough, I made my comeback match against Wolverhampton Reserves, again at Molineux. Didn't do too bad. I got hit a couple of times by dear old Bobby Gould, who used to like to rough the goalkeepers up. We had a good laugh about it, but it didn't feel right when I come off the pitch. And anyway, I continued to train and played a couple of matches at Brighton for the first team against the reserves, etc. But it was very unstable, and the cruciate ligament was the problem. And that I was advised that the best thing would be, obviously, to retire if I felt like that. I didn't want to take their answer too quickly or give them an answer too quickly. I was contacted by a dear friend, Mr. Tony Waiters, who was in Vancouver, and he said, "Look, Brian, if you're still at Coventry, I spoke to Gordon Milne. Would you consider coming over to Vancouver and we see how it goes? We got a lot of knee braces and Christ knows what over there. So me and my wife and the two kids went over for 6 weeks, and I enjoyed it. Lovely place, but as soon as I got there, the pitch, the old Empire Stadium in Vancouver, it's AstroTurf or artificial grass. And it was the old type, and it was a bit like the M11, really, about as hard. And I played a couple of matches. I was lucky enough to play against that world-famous footballer, Pelé, against New York Cosmos. That was enjoyable, fun. But I was very unsure, and it was play a game, 3 days ice, play a game, 3 days ice. And I said to Tony that I can't see this working, and I'm getting a lot of problem with it and so much water building in it. So he says, look, stay on, do a little bit of coaching if you want, and return to England, which I did. And that's the moment it hits you when you start to think, well, what am I going to do? Luckily, I'd done all my coaching badges several years before. I was a member of the Football Association. I was a staff coach for 3 years, which I enjoyed immensely. And I was back at Kenilworth, where we were living there, and I said to Rosemary, do I stay at Coventry? They want me to stay and be involved with the youth team, but I really missed playing and missed that atmosphere in the dressing room. If you played the game and you stood in the tunnel before you come out, I can assure you it's an incredible experience, and you can only relate to the greatest ground I think I ever played on for atmosphere and experience, and that was the Old Den. So I missed it tremendously, but it's only about a week or two I got back and got a telephone call from a very famous manager, Mr. Bertie Mee. And he was on the FA committee at the time, and he asked me whether I would consider coaching abroad. And I thought, well, why not? Let's have a look. And I met the guy from Norway, and it was funny because there was about 5 or 6 English players who had retired at that period, and we all ended up there in 79. And that was Chris Lawler from Liverpool. That was Dennis Burnett, who, of course, was my old teammate. Bill Fawkes, the old Man United player. George Armstrong, the old Arsenal player. Ian Crawford, Arsenal and Chelsea coach. So we all ended up in Norway, and that was the start of my career in coaching and managing, as it was for most of the others. Another one was Tony Knapp, who went on to manage Iceland. So, but it was good because we all had our little, we didn't have a WhatsApp group then. We just had home telephone lines on when we saw one another. But that was the start of my coaching and my life in Norway and Scandinavia. So there we go. Can't really give you much more information up to that point, but it was good. It was good. I had good success over there. So I think basically what I've been doing since then. So
Brilliant.
Kiggy, it's Jeff here. It's nice to speak to you over this podcast. We do see each other from time to time, and I've got recollections of the fun and games we used to have because we're similar ages, and in those days I did get to know some of the players. I remember being at your wedding, for example, where, believe it or not, you managed to persuade some of the locals that I was actually George Best. How you pulled that one off, we will never know.
I must have been drunk.
Yeah, I think there was some cider being drunk, but I've also, knowing you were coming on, I picked up your brilliant book, The Lion's King, which is one of the best football books ever, and an absolute must for all Millwall fans. And are you going to be coming over to Chris Bethel's Dockers Day arrangements for the 71-2 team? If you are, bring a few books because I'm sure there'll be fans that want to see you and get you to sign their copies. So that's one. It's Dockers Day, isn't it, as well, that day? So
yeah.
My question, after that promotion, of The Lion's King...
What, do you want a book?
I've got one in my hand now. But it's not signed. I didn't want to pay the money you were charging to sign it. So...
what, sixpence?
My question is one that I think will be on the lips of many a Millwall fan listening to this. What would you say was your most memorable game at the Old Den, and also your funniest experience with your teammates at Millwall?
Well, at the Old Den, I had a really good game when Sir Alf Ramsey was there, if you remember.
Yep.
Against Huddersfield.
Yep.
And I was pleased with my performance. I was really pleased with my performance because I seemed to catch everything and looked pretty confident, because it's never easy when somebody says, oh, Sir Alf Ramsey's at the game, and you're thinking, nobody ain't looking at me, that's for sure. But I was told by the manager he said, you better do all right today. Sir Alf's there. Oh, well, thanks very much, boss. Just needed a little bit more pressure. But that was enjoyable because after that I got selected for a couple of squads, and finally I went to Portugal with dear old Phil Parks, my mate. Unfortunately, he started and I finished. But in those days, of course, you had to work to get a cap, and the amount of good goalkeepers that were around at the time was unbelievable. I can just say Shilton, Clement, Banks, Bonetti, Phil Parks, and Alex Stepney, and so on and so on. It was a great era for goalkeepers. But we had one or two funny experiences at the Old Den, as you probably recollect, Jeff. And our training facilities were not the best. Over at Deptford Park. We had a great pre-season because we used to go to Peak Fringe along the A2 there at Sidcup, which was a wonderful place. Greenwich Park was during July when tourists were there, and it was always very warm. Our training there was to run around it 3 or 4 times, and running from tree to tree, and there's quite a few trees in Greenwich Park, by the way. But there was an incident when it was an extremely warm week, and Frankie Shaw was with the side at the time, and he said, right, what we'll do is we're going to buy some lagers, as you do, and we're going to put them in a net, and we're going to put them in the boating lake at the bottom. So when we come round, we're going to have a stop up, and we'll have a little drink and get our breath, and all those lads who want to run on, fine, but the senior lads thought that was quite a good idea. But as we were opening the necessary bottles or cans, somebody spotted Laurie Leslie coming along the bottom there on a bicycle. And all of a sudden you've got half a dozen grown men who've jumped in that little boating lake there, you know what I mean? We're trying to hide in about 4 inches of water. And Benny asked us what on God's name we were doing. Dear old Laurie said, what on God, what are you doing? And I just said, well, Frank's dropped his watch in here, we're trying to find it. And he said, is it expensive? I said, well, we're soaking wet. You don't think we'd be in here if we weren't. You know what I mean? All of a sudden, 1 or 2 cans popped up on the surface, and Laurie was not an happy man, I can tell you. So we remained over there for another half hour, running around the bloody park. Much to the amusement of Laurie and dear old Jack and Benny. But some of the senior players, King, Kitchener, Dunphy, Cripps, and so on, Dennis Burnett, the Poss. Everybody was wondering what... I'm sorry?
Dorney? Don't you forget my Alan.
Oh, Alan was there as well, and I think he had a snorkel on, Alan, because he remained underwater longer than we did. But it would look so ridiculous, because when we jumped in that lake, there's only about a foot of water, so we come up with this idea. Frank had lost his watch, fell off his wrist, so we were all in there looking for it. And it's funny when you got kids coming around there on them little boats and things and all that, and there's grown men crawling about in water. I mean, absolutely crazy. What can you say? What can you say? Children, really, weren't we?
Yeah. Right, Brian, it's Pat here.
Oh, Pat.
Yeah, you just answered the question I had about your England call-up.
Yeah.
But going back to the old cinder pitch at Deptford Park, where I used to come and watch you all train on school holidays and that. I mean, that was evil to play on, surely. I mean, especially being a keeper. I mean, going down on that, you must have ripped your legs to pieces.
Well,
but, go on.
Yeah, no. Jack, I used to say, Jack, is there any chance we could have some tracksuit bottoms, Jack? This was initially at the start, and he'd say, no, you can't be having that. And don't try and get too much mud and stuff on your jumper. I said, I'm goalkeeper, for Christ's sake. Sometime I'm going to have to die for it, Jack. Otherwise somebody's going to have a moan up here. So he said, well, that's all right then, son. He said, but don't come to me asking about sore knees and all that. He said, Vaseline's a good thing for that. Vaseline? I mean, come on, Jack. But it was not a good place to train, but that's what we had. That's what we done. I can remember we had Peter Radford. You know, he was a world-class athlete who ran the Olympics. He came over. I think it was Gordon. No, it was Benny. It was Benny brought him in to teach us how for acceleration and explosive starts and everything. And we arranged a race, and of course we had quite a quick player. We had a very quick player in our side called Barry Bridges, and I tell you what, over 50 yards, Barry gave him a really good race. I mean, a really good race, and we all tipped Barry for the Olympics, but football got in the way.
Brilliant times.
Yeah, it was lovely times.
Yeah.
Brian, Myles here. I was fascinated to listen to a recent podcast that you featured in, The Football Insider, The Inside Track. You're clearly an accomplished speaker and can provide great insight into the game today, as much as I suspect you could when you joined Millwall in the 60s. One area that I thought was immensely impressive, though, were your thoughts surrounding football stats being a significant factor in determining transfer targets. I'd love to hear your take on this again, and it seems that it's what many fans see as the answer to obtaining the most suitable of players and even disregarding what league they're playing in.
Well, when I start talking about this kind of stuff, it's always old-fashioned. And players of my age or scouts of my age, you're all old-fashioned. You don't think about it. But stats are fine. But if you want to sign a player, and I always brought up with probably one of the best managers at finding talent, and that's not because he signed me, but Benny Fenton was an absolute expert, and Benny would go out 5-6 nights a week looking for players. I mean, he'd go to reserve games at Tottenham, West Ham, he'd come to Coventry City, he'd go to Slough or non-league games where he picked up players. And I mean, he picked up me, Dennis Burnett, Posse Weller, Gordon Hill. He knew about Barry Bridges. He picked up Brian Brown, who was a young lad from Chelsea. I mean, you know, players who maybe wouldn't have got a second attention, and we certainly wouldn't have moved to a club because of our stats. You know, we all know how many games we played, etc., etc. But signing players, even today, I would want to know exactly what the player was like off the field as well as on it. I'd certainly want to see him play. I'd want to see what his attitude was during a warm-up, because when I watch some of the warm-ups today and I see these fitness coaches who are instructing on these little things, I could just imagine our lot with those elastic bands around their ankles doing these little short steps. I could assure you somebody would have had one of those elastic bands around the back of his head or up his backside for no apparent reason. But it's I don't knock what they do today. I don't knock the preparation, etc., the food, but I think footballers today tragically overpaid. They don't have to work and play like we had to. I mean, we had to play to earn money, whether it's appearance money or win bonus or whatever. Today, they're on 150, 100 grand a week. Good luck to them. But it was us guys, players, the Dennis Laws, the Dennis Burnett's, the Keith Wellers, players who paved the way for what's going on today. But nobody gives us a second thought, because I just feel that the players today are overpaid, and there's too much emphasis on all the right food, the right drink, the right preparation. In some players, it does a lot of good, but in other players, they seem to have problems with it. And I think the present day should be thinking about the players of the past, because nobody's going to get dementia today. I don't care what you say. But players from the 50s, 60s and 70s and 80s are suffering from dementia. Now, you don't need stats to know how many times Kitch headed a ball during the week, or Alfie Wood. But both of these players were put under great pressure, especially Alfie, who was one of the dementia sufferers. And there are many from our era. But when are the PFA, when are the FA, when are the Premier League, when are they going to put funding in to look after these players? I'm lucky. I never had to edit. I just had to catch it. But, you know, it's when you see Kitch and these players over at Deptford Park 5 days a week, 6 days a week, heading those balls from that era, I mean, you know, they're like medicine balls.
I think towards the end of your life in football, you moved into player recruitment for many years for some of the top clubs in the country. And we always used to look for character, didn't we, rather than stats. So times have changed. But I'd like to bring it forward to the present day. Bryan, Gary Rowett's no longer the Millwall manager, and Joe Edwards is in the hot seat. How did you see Gary Rowett's tenure in terms of his achievement and his departure? And what do you see Joe Edwards needs to do to secure our championship status?
Whenever I came to the Den, I'd always hear the people who were moaning about Gary Rowett, and you know, he should be playing this way, he should be playing that way. But I think a manager's controlled by the players he's got and the ability he's got in those players. I think that Gary Rowett done a good job in keeping Millwall in the top half of the table and challenging for playoff positions. He was unlucky, certainly unlucky last season when things went totally pear-shaped with the Blackburn game. I couldn't believe it. But an old friend of mine there was the manager of Blackburn, Yondale Thomason, and I don't think he could believe it either. But I personally thought he'd done as well as he could with what he had. I questioned some of the players probably that he brought in, but I also questioned that they didn't seem to want any help from anybody outside the club, because I sent several recommendations of young players that I'd seen and never even got a thank you or a word back. But there again, if that's the way they want to work it, then that's the way it is. But it's disappointing, because Millwall's always going to be in my heart, whether whether I'm speaking about new players I've seen or players that might help the club. But I always thought that a little bit of respect was due, just to say, well, thank you very much, Brian, but no, they're not the players that we're interested in. So that's all it needed. And I never got that, and I don't suppose I ever will. But the new manager obviously got good ideas, and he's been brought up with working with very good, experienced coaches when he was at Chelsea. He's been trusted with the England under-20 side, which is no mean feat for anybody of his age, which proves that his coaching must be on the right lines. But the thing that worries me with him is that he's a young manager. This is his first job. And I would imagine we all have to do apprenticeships, whether we're accomplished coaches or not. But to have your first management at a football club like Millwall is a very, very difficult position, because he's at the moment he's losing games, and at Millwall you don't want to be losing games, because this apprenticeship will be a very, very tough apprenticeship for him. I wish him all the best, and I hope that he gets it right with the club. I really do, because we want to see Millwall in the Championship. We want to see Millwall maybe one day get in the Premier League. So good luck to him on that. But I sometimes fear for him, because a young manager doing his apprenticeship at Millwall Football Club, I wouldn't fancy that myself.
Yeah, quite agree there, Brian. Pat again, Brian. You're our longest serving keeper to date. Your goalkeeping experiences are vast, and post playing both as manager and scout a number of top flight clubs you've been at. How would you compare and contrast the goalkeepers of your era to the goalkeepers of today?
Well, I think it's the way they're coached. We didn't have goalkeeper coaches. We had to do it ourselves, basically. I worked at Millwall initially. I came in as a reserve team goalkeeper to a really good goalkeeper, and a lovely man, Laurie Leslie. Great experience. So brave. He was so brave. You talk about Deptford Park, you should see him over Deptford Park. He helped me so much, and the thing I admired with him was that he was helping me to replace him. Luckily for me, I was playing behind a goalkeeper who seemed to sustain injuries, and I got an early break at Millwall. I'd only been there a couple of months. Joined at the end of June, and by September, October, I'd already been in the first team, which I think everybody thought would be a bit early for me, but you know, it was a great opportunity, and Laurie was always behind me, and I knew of Laurie Leslie before I came, and of course the man he replaced, Alex Stepney, and to follow in their footsteps. You know, you're either going to make that step and produce what the fans want, or you'll be playing back at Coventry City within the year. But I was fortunate enough that I got in the side, and the first year I think I ended up playing about 18 games, which enabled me to establish myself. And Laurie, of course, became a little bit uncertain of his future, and he wanted to leave the club. He came back to the club as a coach, and again he spent a lot of time with me working on different aspects of my game. But then I had things which Laurie told me that he could never have. The way I would come and catch crosses, and the kind of hands I had, as we said then. It was just my general play, the confidence he gave me. He was a tremendous help, and that's without real coaching. Today, when I watch goalkeepers, everything seems to be done in quick repetition. They don't work enough on actually holding the ball or catching the ball. the different aspect when I played, of course, was the use of the feet today. But it's still you've got to keep the ball out of the net. And when I watch goalkeepers today, there's so much stuff coming away from them where they push out into danger areas, and I don't like that. I like people to get it and kill it, and because if you can get hold of it or you can get it away from the danger areas, you've always got a chance. But a lot of goalkeepers today, when you see them playing, are knocking stuff back into danger areas where, he's made a fantastic save from that block he had. But if he'd have sorted the first one out, he wouldn't have had to make a fantastic save on the second one. I don't see so much keepers coming for crosses and catching crosses. They let defenders get too deep. But I'm not overjoyed with the way the so-called goalkeeper coaches work with their goalkeepers.
Brian, Miles here again. This Sunday, I'm covering Coventry versus Millwall and Millwall Lionesses versus Sutton United for Maritime Radio. I'm looking forward to them both. It's going to be a good one. When asked, I thought Jeff wanted to try me out covering his Lionesses, but then I found out he's heading to the Coventry with you. What have you two planned apart from watching the game, of course?
No, I've been asked by the former Players Association of Coventry City. I've been asked before with the Millwall games, but they'd either been postponed or changed because of cup games. And, of course, my availability is not 5 minutes to come over from Oslo. But I accepted the offer for this game, and I spoke to Jeff about it because he said he'd be interested to go up to the game. So we're going to travel up together, and he can see also on first hand the way Coventry City look after their former players, which is, I believe, something that Millwall could certainly open the book on. So we're going up. Apparently we're going in the board. We've been invited in the boardroom by Coventry. We shall have brunch. I'll do a couple of talks in the VIP areas. Hopefully we get a result. And then we'll probably make our way back to London, where I've got next week. I think I'm going to the Ipswich game. And I've been invited next Saturday by a fellow called Tom Crichton, who's going to be the match sponsor, to be on his table. So I'm looking forward to that. And on Wednesday, I'm going to be with Mr. Dean Wilson, who's a big radio fan of yours, I believe. So it's going to be an exciting week for me. 3 Millwall matches. So let's hope we get 9 points, eh?
We can only hope.
My role on Sunday, going to Coventry, make sure there's petrol in the tank, make sure the tyres are pumped up, and get you there and back safely.
Yeah, we've got an early start, Jeff.
I know. I
wasn't
aware of that when I offered to give you a lift up there. It's a terribly early start.
Well, apparently we've got to be there at 10, and we're having brunch, and the game kicks off at 12. So it's going to be a busy morning. But I think it's going to be an enjoyable one. Things are flying a little bit up there now for Coventry. They progressed to the next round of the FA Cup. They're in a playoff positions when they had a very poor start. But so let's hope that Joe and his team can present a side that's going to produce a good game, because I think it'll be a good game up there. I really do. I haven't seen Millwall this year. I've only seen Coventry on television. So I'm quite looking forward to that game.
Brian, can you give us a prediction on what the score will be?
I think it could end up a draw. But I think 2-1 is going to be the score, but I'm not going to say who's going to win because I might get stick from everywhere. But I'm fond of Coventry. I'm fond of Chelmsford. But I think all you guys have realised just how fond I am of Millwall as well, because that's where Bryan King became a professional footballer or a half-decent goalkeeper. And I always say that I'm so humbled that people still remember who I am. Because although David Ford was closing in on me, My record is league games. It's 302, which has never been beaten. It's the history of Millwall Football Club. More games as a goalkeeper than I have in the Football League. And that for me is, sometimes I can't believe it still, that I'm still the record holder of league games for Millwall Football Club. But that's a fact, and I'm proud of it.
Absolutely.
In everything I've played for Millwall, I would think reserve games and friendlies and everything, it's got to be around 400 games. As I say, the first time I ran out of the den, I didn't really know what to expect, except that Peter Shreves and Ken Jones, who I knew before I joined, had told me that the first time you run out there, you'll remember it, whether it's at the reserve game. Southend United was my first reserve game, I believe. And it was funny because that was the last game I played against for Chelmsford City in the Essex Professional Cup final was against Southend United. And my first game for Millwall Reserves was Southend United Reserves, which was a bit strange, but I will never, ever forget my league debut against Blackpool. I mean, I think there was 20,000 there, and Blackpool were top of the league. They had some very, very established players, one of which finally signed me for Coventry. Gordon Milne played that night. And, the atmosphere that night, it was really, really, I can still relive it. Absolutely thrilling. Didn't have a chance to think much about it. It was, I got thrown into the game because, again, Laurie got injured. I'm playing, so I just got on with it and tried to perform the kind of way that he would have done. And always be brave, as he said to me. He always used to say to me, be brave, not only diving at feet, but making decisions, coming for crosses, staying at home, catching, punching. All these things are also bravery. I've never, ever forgot him telling me that. And I think a few goalkeepers today could be told that.
Absolutely. Well, it was really great to speak with you again, Bryan. It's always a pleasure to have you join us and share your history and your insights into the game. So we wish you and yours all the best, and we look forward to hearing from you again in the not too distant future.
Well, thank you very, very much. Nice to speak to all of you. Obviously, I know some of you, and others I've only heard on this podcast previously, but you're all doing a good job, and I look forward to seeing you down the den at some stage. Thank you.
Thanks, Bryan. Thanks a lot, mate.
Thank you.
We will take a break there and hear from Billy Mitchell talking about Millwall's annual Community Day.
So 2nd of March is our community day this year as we play Watford at the Den. It's a great day to showcase the work that Millwall Community Trust do. So I hope to see you all at the Den then. Bye.
I'm your host, Bethany Manktelow, and with me I have the No One Likes Us talking team of Jeff Burnige, Patricia Maslin and Myles Thornton. As soon as any updates about the Community Day become known, we will let you know. But on the day, we will be about getting fan and contributor thoughts from midday. Have a word if you do see us. Ellis promotes Just for Children on her X account. Check out their website, www.justforchildren.org, and that is the number 4, and see what wonderful things they do. For now, let's hear from Ellis Barr.
Hello, Ellis here, and I'm glad to be back talking about Millwall. I know many have watched my videos, so you will all know that I don't wear splints as much anymore. Thanks for your support along the way. It is now time to hear what all the Millwall teams are up to. Come on, Millwall!
Andy Dolan, Millwall Pride manager, reported on Pride's latest game and future fixtures in a report for Maritime Radio. Let's hear what Andy had to say.
Best news I've heard this morning, they've got us tuned in there as well, which is really good. Now, Millwall Pride hosted Soho Tigers at St Paul's Stadium in Rotherhithe on Sunday. Edmund Barclay caught up with Millwall Pride captain Andy Dolan to talk about their game.
Great to see Millwall Pride back to winning ways, Andy.
So, yeah, great news this week. We won 8-2, which was a fun experience and I think a record result for us. So that was awesome. We had a hat-trick in among those goals from Yosu, who's playing for the Romans team originally, but then as we've been getting more and more people into the club, it's more competitive. So a couple of the players from the first playing with the Pride team now because they prefer to have more playing time. So that's benefited us. That's nice. It was a pretty tight game actually until about 70 minutes. It was 3-2. They'd got a good couple of goals back. One of them was one of those sort of crosses that gets kind of shanked and ends up going in the top corner off the bar. The other one was a really good bottom corner shot from the edge of the box when we probably overcomplicated it on the edge of the box. But yeah, after about 70 minutes, they really, they got very tired. We'd been saying all game we wanted to play a passing game and move them left to right. And I think that really told because we got a couple of goals and their heads dropped and they just kept conceding because they were all tired and wanted it to finish. So yeah, really good day for Pride.
Cracking result, Andy. So what's up next for Pride?
Next up, we've got a game February 18th away in Barnes, which is quite a long way to go to play Titans team who are mid-table. And then in March, we've got back-to-back fixtures against London Freedom, who are top of the league. The Pride team is second in the league. I think we're 3 points behind them, with similar goal difference. So, could be potential title deciders, those two games. So that'd be quite exciting if we can get a win in the first one, then could maybe go top of the league in the second one. But trying to not get too drawn into it myself as a manager, just because it's supposed to be about, getting people involved and having a nice atmosphere, and I can already feel myself getting really competitive about it,
You want to read the story of Corinthian casuals, Andy? That'll bring you back down to earth. Thanks anyway. All the best.
Eamon Barkley there with more from the London Unity League, the LGBTQ plus friendly football league based here in London, founded in 2009 and currently has 14 teams competing in 2 divisions. We look forward to hearing more in the coming weeks.
And here is Andy's prediction.
Big week, this. 3 games in a week. I think Ipswich seem to be going great guns, so that's really difficult. The away winning at Bristol City's given me a little bit of confidence, bordering on hubris, but I reckon out of those 3 games, Millwall can get a couple of wins. Coventry, I think the guy, one of the centre midfielders I read, got injured and he's out for a few weeks, and I think a lot of games in the championships, it's a battle in the midfield, so I think we can sneak it against Coventry away. And then Chef Wednesday is obviously one of those games that you've got to win if you want to stay away from that relegation dogfight. So I think I'm back in Millwall for 2 out of 3. I'm going to be positive this week.
Both the Millwall LGBTQIA plus sides are doing very well, and it is good to see that Maritime Radio on 96.5 FM are wanting to give them some regular coverage. Jeff Burnige filed a report for Maritime Radio 2 following the Millwall Lionesses' away trip to Dartford Women on Sunday in the London and South East League Cup. Jeff picks up the story.
Millwall Lionesses should be used to controversy in the League Cup at Dartford, as in the last 2 seasons there have been some memorable incidents late in the games which have resulted in 2 Dartford victories, which eventually allowed them to win the trophy. On this occasion, they were defeated 3-2 by 2 stoppage time goals, having led 2-1 until centre-forward Emma Witter was sin-binned for 10 minutes after 78, and sin-bins are very rarely employed. There were 90 on the clock when she was waved back on, with around 8 minutes of stoppages expected due to injuries, substitutions, but perhaps mainly due to some lively and fractious on-field altercations between the 2 sides. Then on 90+2, Dartford were awarded a highly disputed penalty, eventually given after the referee had lengthily consulted his assistant. Millwall skipper Sophie Chapman was wrongly adjudged to have tripped Nikki Dyatt, who picked herself up eventually and beat Millwall keeper Chrissy Wiggins from the spot. The Lionesses were devastated by this, but it got worse for them on 90+6 when Lizzie Adams made it 3-2 when she followed up and tapped in a shot which had come back off the post. Earlier, Millwall had taken the lead with a Shannon Drew volley on 43 minutes, and former Millwall Academy player Paris Smith had equalised on 53. Almost immediately after that equaliser, Kira Watling and Emma Witter combined to set up Madison Grandis for what in truth should probably have been the winning goal. It had been an even game on the whole, but Millwall were poorly served by decisions late in the game. They may find it very difficult to pick themselves up after this disappointment for next Sunday's league match with Sutton United at home at St Paul's.
Anything to add to that, Jeff?
Well, I did get the player wrong. It wasn't Sophie that gave away the penalty. It was Jordan Butler, the club captain. Apart from that, I've nothing much to add. Obviously, I was still emotional when I recorded that immediately after the game. You calm down, don't you, over a few days? But it was a very, very tough one to take. As I said at the beginning of the report, it's happened to us before. We have got to play them in the league yet, so that might be interesting, that one.
That'd be a fun one, won't it, Jeff?
It will.
So, next up for the Lions is Coventry City at the Coventry Building Society Arena on Sunday. The Sky Blues come into the game on the back of a 2-1 defeat away to Norwich. They have 3 wins and a draw in their previous 4 league games. We are on the back of a 1-0 defeat at Hull, and we have 1 draw, 2 losses and 1 win behind that. City sit 9 places above us on 44 points, whilst we are in the 16th slot with 33 points. The bookies have Coventry at a 4-5 to win, a draw is 3-1, and a win for us is 4-1. Well, Adama will be available, and maybe Idamoa Maku could return, but it's likely to be a bit too early for Ryan Leonard, who returned to full training at the beginning of the week. Despite that, can we keep a clean sheet, get a goal, or more? Despite Nisbet being out for some time, but with Bradshaw and Obafemi both fit. So many ifs and buts. But what do we reckon, team? Myles?
Yeah, as you say, Bethany, so many ifs and buts. But I am going to go with a win. I think we'll nick it. I'm probably just me being very optimistic as usual. But you've got to have the optimism. If you don't have the belief, there's no point, is there? Adama will be available. Idamoa Maku, hopefully, might be too early for him. Ryan Leonard in Tom Bradshaw and Sean Hutchison, they're all back in training, so hopefully they're able for selection. I'm going to go say 1-0 win. Yeah, 1-0 win.
Pat?
Right. I don't think Nisbet is any great loss, to be honest. I'm sorry to say that, but I don't think he's been one of our great signings. Been nice to see Leonard back, Andy Maku. It'd be nice to see Adama come in and making his debut as well. He'll probably get on in the second half. They've got a couple of people, haven't they? They got Kitchen on suspension and Sheafy's out for 6 to 8 weeks injured. So 2 of their key players. I can see us. I'm going to give a win away, believe it or not. 2-1.
And Jeff?
Well, some interesting comments from Myles and Pat there. I'm a great admirer of the job that Mark Robbins has done at Coventry on what appear to be very limited resources. They've even lost a couple of their best players, didn't they, in the summer? But I saw them do very well in the FA Cup on Wednesday. They got through very comfortably to the next round. That might still be in their legs with a bit of luck. I'm going to go there with optimism. If Brian and I are both there, we will be secretly hoping, I think, for a Millwall win. And I think we'll get one. I think, again, we're very good defensively. We don't make many chances away from home, but I think we'll make one, and I think we'll take one. And I agree, I think we'll win 1-0.
Brilliant. Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough game, and I think there's going to be a lot of pressure, especially after our loss, and you know what our fan base can be like with not getting behind the team, and Edwards out this, and these players are rubbish at that, and everyone's a football manager really, aren't they, behind a keyboard? But I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to us, and I'm going to say Obafemi to score both. I'm getting specific, so I hope that happens. We're putting it out in the universe. Well, on Wednesday night, we face Ipswich, but I'm not going to be asking for predictions. Andy Dolan expressed his feelings about this fixture earlier, and too much can happen at the weekend. But how do each of you feel about Ipswich visit to the Den? Jeff?
I do believe I said what a good manager Mark Robins was at Coventry, but it must be mentioned also what a good job Kieran McKenna's done in his first management job as the manager of Ipswich. He was fortunate to do his apprenticeship, if you like, in League One, something which hasn't been possible for our manager, Joe Edwards. But McKenna's team seemed to have gone slightly off the boil, under pressure from Leeds and Southampton for that automatic spot. It should be a very, very good game to watch, hopefully good weather, and I can't wait for that game. I really can't.
Myles?
Yeah, I'm the same as Jeff, to be fair. I can't wait for that game either, and I agree with Jeff in everything he says about Kieran McKenna. Fantastic manager, learnt from the best at Manchester United, and has brought that to Ipswich. And it's either going to go two ways on Wednesday night. It's either going to go Ipswich are going to batter us, which at home I don't think they will. I don't know. I'm going to go. Yeah, I think I'll be optimistic. I think we'll be all right. I don't think they're going to batter us.
And Pat, what do you think?
Yeah, it seems like ages since we last played at the Den, so I think we're all looking forward to it. I think Ipswich have come off the boilers late. Look, if Maidstone can beat them, their place, there's no reason we can't. So if the Millwall we all know and love turn up, we're going to show them how to play.
Very true. We will take another break there, and Harvey Brown will tell us about the Lions Food Hub.
Hi, Harvey Brown here. I am proud of the Lions Food Hub, which is jointly owned by Kelly and Ellen Webster, and they have been supporting families within our community for over 2 years on Millwall match days. If you would like to donate to them, they have a match day donation hub by the SE16 bar at Coldblow Lane, end of the ground, where they accept any food or money and toiletry donations. If you can help, any donations will be received with thanks.
I'm your host, Bethany Manktelow, and with me I have the No One Likes Us talking team of Jeff Burnige, Patricia Maslin and Myles Thornton. The Lions Food Hub team are grateful for donations of food, cleaning products and sanitary products, and also financial donations. Watch out for their needs and wants ahead of Wednesday's game at home to Ipswich. Our second guest tonight plays internationally for Montserrat alongside his brother, who is the national side's captain. Over the past 10 years, he has played in non-league football, predominantly in the Isthmian League. His day job has been with the Millwall Community Trust since he started work. Without further ado, let's welcome Joey Taylor on our phone link to the studio. Hello, Joey.
Hello.
Hi, Joey.
Hello, Joey.
Hello, Joey.
Joey, it is great to have you on. What an incredible background that you have. Before I hand you over to the panel, you can be found as a coach at the Millwall Community Trust, a role you have held over for a number of years. Can you tell us about working at the MCT and what it is about the trust that works for you?
Thanks, Bethany. Yeah, so I'm a local boy. I grew up in New Cross, still live in New Cross now. I've been attending Millwall programs from the age of 7, 8. I used to do the soccer schools when I was a kid, and I've ended up working full time here. Working in a trust, I've done a number of different roles over the years, and I think now I've finally found one that I can see myself doing for a while. So yeah, it's been a while. I started off as a schools coach, and then I went into a different role. I went into facility managing, so at St. Paul's as well, and I've ended up being a tutor on the alternate provision program, which has been really good.
Fantastic.
Good evening, Joey. It's Jeff Burnige here.
Hello.
Hello, Joey. Something that had Millwall fans wondering, was, in amongst the international call-ups for Millwall players to join Wales and Northern Ireland and the Republic, there was an article showing Millwall Community Trust Joey Taylor being called up for Montserrat. Can you tell us how your international career started and how it has developed?
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, really. So in 2018, FIFA introduced the Nations League, which meant there'd basically be more regular competitive games for everyone, including the smaller countries like us, Montserrat. But the problem in previous years was finding the money to fly 18 plus players from the UK, accommodating them, feeding them, etc. But FIFA provided the funding that allows this now to happen. So it's amazing, really. We had a training camp in June 2018, I think it was, with a new manager who was Willie Donachie at the time, the old Manchester City and Scotland footballer. It went well, and I was basically called up for the first Nations League game in September 18 against El Salvador, which was the country's first game in a while. We've improved massively as a squad, and I think that's down to more players now being recruited to actually play for Montserrat. So there's more pros now playing. I've got 22 caps for my country, and I'm developing as a footballer under someone who's played at the top of English football and in the Champions League in Lee Bowyer. So I think if you'd have told me that in 2018, I would probably laugh, but here we are. I've experienced some incredible things in some incredible places alongside my big brother for most of it as well.
Hello, Joey. Pat here.
Hi.
I can remember you from our first coverage of the MCT summer camp at St Paul's and Ted talking with you about Lyle then. However, playing alongside your brother Lyle at Montserrat, how does that combination work?
It's strange, but it's a really good feeling. Literally growing up playing 1v1s in the kitchen, much to our mother's despair, to playing on an international stage together is crazy, but it's definitely a proud moment for our family. He does shout at me quite a lot because he's a skipper, but luckily I know how to deal with him and not let it affect me, so I don't take it personally.
Good, excellent.
Hi Joey, Myles here.
Hello.
Back to non-league football. You've played for many sides south of the river, predominantly within the Isthmian League. What was your most memorable game? And at 26, will you be playing your footballing trade for at least as long as your brother? Fitness willing, of course.
There's been a couple, but I'd probably say 2019 playoff final when I was at Horsham. I was on the bench. I was in and out kind of most of the season really. The 10th game, like any one-off game is, and it went to extra time. We've been getting quite a lot of joy from the set pieces and things, and that's kind of my speciality. So came on in the second half of extra time, and we obviously did in fact get a free kick on the right. I took it, and luckily it's landed on our big centre half head and gone in, and we won the game 3-2 and were promoted after that. So that's probably one of them.
Joey, that was so interesting. What a life you have.
Thanks, Bethany.
We will have to come and speak to you in your current role at the MCT, or maybe catch up on Community Day on the 2nd of March. But lastly, but not least, can you please give a prediction for Coventry v Millwall this Sunday?
I'm going to go 2-1 Millwall.
2-1. Love it. Well, thanks for coming on, Joey. Hopefully we can get you back on again to share your thoughts. But until next time, all the best to you, yours and Montserrat.
Bye.
Good luck, Joey.
Bye, Joey.
We will take another break there and hear how you can help our Millwall Community Trust. The Millwall Community Trust is something that I, Bethany Manktelow, admire for all that it does. The Trust was established in 1985, works to provide sporting, education, social and healthy lifestyle opportunities to the local community in Southwark, Lewisham, North Kent and the wider community. Its work is targeted at people of all ages, irrespective of race, gender or sexual orientation, and runs programmes aimed at tackling social exclusion, racism, knife crime, lack of employment opportunities for young people, mental health and disability issues. The Trust aims to be a progressive and campaigning charity that makes a difference to ordinary people's lives. Its work is undeniably essential to the local community. They have sponsorship opportunities to support this work. Email commercial@millwallcommunity.org.uk. I'll say that again. That is email commercial@millwallcommunity.org.uk. Please help if you can. I'm your host, Bethany Manktalow, and with me I have the No One Likes Us talking team of Jeff Burnige, Patricia Maslin and Myles Thornton. Your donations will enable our trust to deliver programmes across the width and breadth of our community. We are all looking forward to the next game, but in the meantime, here are a few matters of interest to Millwall fans.
On Saturday, the 6th of April, there is a charity night at the Pyrotechnists Arms, 39 Nunhead Green, SE15. Arms, 39 Nunhead Green, SE15, from 4pm to 11pm, with a DJ, raffles and auction tickets. The event is in aid of Kevin Downey's 35th and final London Marathon. All proceeds going to Harvey's charity, the MPS Society UK. Kevin is a special man who has raised thousands of pounds over the years for so many charities. If you would like to go, the tickets are £5 on the door. It is for a very special cause that is close to the hearts of Dean and Vicky Brown, and also Kevin. Dean says it will be lovely to see you there and actually get to meet some of you for the first time.
I will be hoping to get along to the Pyrotechnics Arms in Nunhead. Great pub and a great guy, Kevin. The money he's raised, fantastic. Now, next week, Myles will again be our hosts, and this time it'll be with a team of Ted, Dave and possibly myself again, along with a couple of guests. Also, don't forget Millwall Lionesses are back in league action at home to Sutton United on Sunday with a 1:30pm kick-off at St Paul's Sports Ground, Salter Road, Rotherhithe. Please get down there and give our Lionesses the backing they deserve, and give Myles a chat too. Additionally, the 1885 Club's Platinum package for Sheffield Wednesday is sold out. If you want to treat your loved one on February the 14th, which I would remind you is Valentine's night, then there is no better place to share a Platinum package starting at £110 each with concessions. You'll be entertained as the Lions take on high-flying Ipswich Town in what should be a gritty encounter. Check out the commercial department on the Millwall website for further details.
Chris Bethell has announced that his Dockers Day at the Den will be against West Bromwich Albion on the 29th of March, which has a 1pm kick-off. Dockers and players from the 1971-72 season will be invited and presented on the pitch with medals sponsored by the Fans Programme and T-shirts sponsored by Colin Welch. Players will be by the memorial bench outside the Kitchener stand from 12 noon for autographs and photos before going out onto the pitch for the presentation. Please get there early to cheer the Dockers and players on. If you are a Docker from that era or know someone that is, please contact Chris Bethell by emailing him on bethes16@hotmail.com. I'll say that again, bethes16@hotmail.com. Additionally, on Saturday afternoon, Bermondsey Town Football Club play host to Ide Hill Football Club, and the game is kindly and proudly sponsored by the No One Likes Us Talking team. I'd personally like to put a place on record our thanks from the club, because I work for the club, to the team for sponsoring the game, because it means the world to us, so thank you. Please get down if you can.
Don't forget you will be able to listen to the No One Likes Us Talking team bring reports from our games both home and away for the Lions, Lionesses, Romans, Pride and also updates on Millwall community matters too. That's all on Maritime Radio, broadcasting on 96.5 FM. Additionally, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Tumblr, YouTube and X social media sites and all popular podcast sites. Well, that's it from me. Thank you, Jeff.
Good night.
Thanks, Pat.
Good night, Bethany.
And thank you, Myles.
Thanks, Bethany. Good night.
And finally, thank you to all of our listeners. Please, let's keep it safe on the streets out there, and it's good night from me.
Our Millwall Fan Show is sponsored by G&M Motors of Gravesend, Honda dealers and much more. Thank you.